whatever happens can be used, can be weaponized in a divorce. And that's where things blow up. So you might just send an innocent text back or an email or leave a voicemail. You might even call them. They might record the conversation for all you know. And next thing you know, that recording can go before the judge. Welcome back to Getting Divorced Without Losing Your Mind. I am Corey Shapiro. The goal of this podcast is to help you make better decisions while you're activated, while you're stressed, and before you act on those strong feelings. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to guide you so you don't blow up your divorce and hopefully not, spend all your time, money, energy, emotion on your divorce. That's what I'm hoping for. And the goal of this episode is we're focusing on that activation. When you're activated, when you're emotionally flooded, and then something happens. And before something happens, we're going to focus on that. That's what I really want to focus on. And my definitions for today, just to make sure we're on the same page, is activation. You're flooded. You're stressed. You're fight or flight. We all do that all the time. But we don't have to act on it. And then we'll talk about being that operator, coming from that wise part of ourselves. And, it's fluid. I'm not going to be there all day. I'm not going to be the wise part of myself all day. But when it matters, that's where I need to be my wise self, when it matters. And then we're going to talk about pausing, the 24-hour pause, which is so important because we can't necessarily make great decisions in the moment. Can't just make great decisions in the moment. In my day job as a lawyer, people contact you, my clients contact me because they need guidance, they need counsel, they need help to think about the next steps. And I want you to think about me acting in that role for you today on this. Okay, and something's going to happen. So let me give you an example. Something's going to happen. You're going to be provoked. And one thing I was thinking of was a lot of times when you're in this separation stage where you're just starting co-parenting, which is a challenge because everything's new. You have two different homes. The kids are adjusting, you're adjusting, but it's not finalized, the divorce, and it's not finalized the parenting plan. Maybe you want sole custody. Maybe you're not totally happy with this parenting plan, but this is phase one. This is the start of a final plan, okay? Just to get the other side out of the house, just to give you some peace because living together was just so toxic. So this was a bargain. But it wasn't the best, it wasn't the best, and it wasn't what you really wanted. So you have this parenting plan. It's working in part. But then you realize that you had this bedtime that was strictly enforced in your home. Strictly enforced. Because it was really important for you to make sure the kids had enough sleep for school. So on school nights, there was a bedtime strictly enforced, no problem when you were an intact home. But then you heard that the night before, the kids didn't go to sleep because they went out to a basketball event and they didn't get home until after midnight. And you heard this because they were a little late to school, and when you picked them up, they looked a little out of it, and then you asked the teacher, and the teacher was like, yeah, they seemed a little out of it today. And then you just want to explode, what's going on? What happened? Why did they go into a basketball game during the school week? Why does this have to happen? We had a bedtime. And you're just getting more and more obsessed with this issue, right? Now, what are you going to do in that moment? Now, what I want you to do, and if you've been following my podcast and following my teachers, teaching, I keep things simple. Because at this point, you're compromised, you're flooded, you're activated, you're fight or flight. I want you to do nothing. Yeah, you heard me. Nothing. This didn't happen every night. This wasn't a chronic issue. It didn't happen every night. It happened once. Let's put it in perspective. Could be something else. It could be in your house, you never had meat. And all of a sudden, you hear they're going out for cheeseburgers. Maybe they did cheeseburgers because the kids always wanted cheeseburgers, but they would never have it in your house because you never had meat. And now the other parent wants to be that cool parent. And now you feel like the bad parent because you're preventing them from having fun. And now they don't necessarily want to be with you as much. See how all this starts? It gets complicated. I'm asking you to do nothing. Why? Because we have to approach this from a wise perspective. And this is not something you do every day. Whatever happens can be used, can be weaponized in a divorce. And that's where things blow up. So you might just send you think an innocent text back or an email or leave a voicemail. You might even call them. They might record the conversation for all you know. And next thing you know, that writing, that recording can go before the judge. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm better safe than sorry. I'm better safe than sorry. And I'm trying to protect you because I want to protect your budget. Now, you could say, Corey, not in my divorce. Maybe not. And great, maybe not. That's not what we're doing on this podcast. What we're doing on this podcast is we don't know. And we want to be better safe than sorry. And we want to make sure we are risk managing. So until things are totally signed on the dotted line, we are cautious. I always tell people what I do. Pretty simple. I just pretend I have a judge on my shoulder. I tell people I'm like literally a whipped horse. I used to be a wild horse. And you go to court a couple times, and the judge just sort of whips you around. And then I'm like, Judge, I understand. You're the power. You're the dictator. Your way goes. So the judge is always on my shoulder. And I'm thinking, when I give advice to my clients, it's just, what will this judge say? Now, I don't know specifically what this particular judge says because every judge is a little different, but I believe what they're going to say. And that's the same thing I'm trying to tell you now. We got to be conservative. So how do you get to that architect side? How do you move out of that operator? You have it. You just got to take that pause. If you can just take that pause, oh, wow, you're putting yourself in a different world. And when you're in that pause, you're not feeding the negative side. You're feeding the positive side, the step 3. Step 3 is, I want my life back. Step 3 is, I want what's best for the children. And in this situation, if it happened just once, maybe a light touch approach. If it happens more often, then that's something that maybe needs to be discussed. Maybe it was a really special game. Maybe it was the playoffs. Maybe it was something super special for them, that their favorite team. Who knows? What happens generally is we come out of it with a negative perspective. When we judge other people, the other parent, you're judging what they're doing from a negative perspective. And what I want you to judge is a positive perspective, or at least neutral, if you can do that. All right, so my core message to you, when you get provoked, when something happens, pause. Yeah. You do that, you're going to save your budget. You're going to save your time, energy, money, emotion. And this is real. People want to fight. People want to go to court. People want to go to war. Who's never done it? I mean, I've been doing this over 25 years, and I've been in 8-year divorces. And it's crazy. It's crazy what can happen. So I always tell people it's better not to get into the system. Don't get into the system. That's what I'm hoping, if you can avoid it. Some cases you have to. Sort of like in health. I think in health, you don't want to go to the hospital for an issue that you can just put a Band-Aid or some cream you can buy at Duane Reade or some, pharmacy. But if, it's a life or death situation, okay, maybe you have to go to the hospital. On the other hand, a lot of these things that we think are life and death are not really. And if you just think about it, maybe there's a better way. Not always, not trying to minimize, but usually, with someone with a lot of experience to see things a little differently. Okay, here's my paraphrase for you. They're pushing, I'm pausing. I hold the line. It's like a mantra. They're pushing. They're activating you. I'm pausing. I'm holding the line. You're holding the line for your children. You're holding the line for yourself. So you're not going to spend, your kid's college education on your divorce. So here's my action step. Next time you're activated, and it's going to happen, probably going to happen today. Maybe even already happened today. Can you pause? Can you take that moment? Whatever it is, doesn't even have to be in this divorce context. Could be something the kids did that upset you. Could be, I'm thinking with my wife, sometimes we like to lock the door at night, even though we're in a nice building. I always like to lock the top lock. She doesn't lock it all the time. So I always make sure I do it. Okay. But in the beginning, that would activate me because I would say to her, can you just lock the lock? And she was like, sure. But we've been together for 9 years. She just doesn't do it. So I play the long game. I just make sure it's locked because I want us to be safe at night. Even though it's probably in my mind and we're in a doorman building, probably nothing's going to happen, but it makes me feel safe. See? So think about that. I know you can do this stuff. I know it's hard, but you can do it. I believe in you. I'm Corey Shapiro. Thanks for listening.
This podcast offers general information only. It cannot replace legal advice. If you need tailored advice, contact an attorney licensed to practice in your area.